Hi, Natalie Blank here from SOULLL, Seers of Universal Life Lessons Love. So today we're talking about what the point is to all of this. Why has Universal Source collected up our soul parts, turned them into one person and sent us into life? So we're here to learn. Is basically the answer. Basically, it's Universal Source, which is made up of a multitude, an infinite amount at this point of soul parts and wisdom and love, is sending us here for more learning. Now, what is it learning? So it's learning about how to make life better. Now, this is an interesting thing, because when we look at the world, that's kind of a bit of a challenging thought, because it can feel like our world is falling apart because we've got environmental challenges, we've got political challenges, we've got people who display such intense cruelty that it's hard to believe. We have animals suffering, we have people suffering, and so it can seem really difficult to feel like this is a fair way for us to be learning, and that it's not making life better for all. So this process of learning is a very long process. It's been going on for millions of years, and it's been growing. And if you look at the scriptures from religion, the knowledge that soul is about is knowledge that is part of a lot of those religions, but it's not the first thing you learn. And so this shows us that source is actually evolving what it's trying to explain. It's telling us new things each time it tries to explain itself. So it came to Abraham, and it gave Abraham the 10 Commandments, and it gave the Jews what it gave the Jews, and then that got us to a certain point, and then Jesus came, and then he gave messages, and then and it kind of goes on, and we've had many wise people who have had information delivered to them in whatever form you want to say, whatever you want to call that, and they've shared that knowledge. And so this is kind of, when you look at the progression that Universal Source has taken, or God has taken, in giving that information, it's like it's getting wiser about what information to give us. So so while we feel like life might be falling in a hole, there are two aspects to that. So one is that it's not, yes, there are bad things happening, but there are more people living better lives, more lives where they have access to the things they need than ever before. And that might be contentious. I'm happy to hear your comments about that. And the other thing, this is the thing about going live, is you talk and you see how you go. So the second thing about it, that's what it is that because life is about lessons, and learning is not necessarily going to run smoothly, because we need challenge to learn. So if you want to learn a new concept, in life, whatever that concept is, be it from math to science to the humanities to emotional lessons to spiritual lessons. The way to learn it is not through ease. It's I wouldn't even say it's part of the human condition. It's part of life, really, that we get challenged by things, and that teaches us, and then we grow. So it's actually really great that we have some challenges in life that teach us. So then the question comes up is, why do bad things happen to good people? Now, I've tried to talk about this before. I've written something, so I'm going to read it. So the question of why bad things happen to good people often comes up whenever the concept of higher being or force comes to God. And that's why a lot of people really struggle with that concept, is because they've got friends or even themselves, they know they're a good person, and yet bad things keep coming up. And there's been little in terms of answers that give all people understanding or peace about it. This is an unfortunate thing, but as these answers might help give us peace, so I've got an attempt here. Our souls come from Universal Source and are a part of it. Universal Source is learning all about life. To do that, it needs to learn about the good, the bad, and the utterly terrible. Certain souls have made, within their contract, a difficult path. This is for the learning of their own souls, but also for those around them. Each situation must be learned from every perspective. For instance, people with illnesses have the lesson from that illness. Those around them learn empathy. Medical staff have the chance to learn more about the illness and help others with that knowledge. The lesson is not necessarily something you can consciously learn or use to defeat the illness, but this is not what is meant. This is not the type of lesson, or not that kind of learning. It doesn't mean there can't be conscious learning, but it's generally not what's meant. This is what the bad things are about. It's about learning for ourselves and also for the greater good. Imagine a world where we were all happy all the time, where life was perfect at all times, where we all had everything we needed without work or trouble. Would it be nice? Sure, for a short time. For a while you might enjoy the simplicity of it, but would you grow under those circumstances? How much would you learn? Life and learning are made up of some level of difficulty and challenge. Invention is driven by the need for something new, the need for change. Growth and learning require a level of discomfort. This is what Universal Source understands. Souls need some discomfort to grow and become what we are meant to be. Universal Source needs challenge and discomfort in its creations for it to learn. So we are Universal Source's creations, and it needs us to be a bit uncomfortable at times so we can learn. If a force of nature can be said to find that difficult, it does find it difficult, but also necessary. Source doesn't like us to struggle. It doesn't like us to feel pain and hurt and all of those things, but it understands that we need those for our learning and also for its necessary for its growth and learning, and in turn ours. It takes special souls to take these difficult journeys, and while the souls involved do not remember, their journey is one they've chosen. And I know that is really contentious. I understand that's really contentious. And as hard as it is to take on, these generous souls are the warriors of Universal Source, taking on difficulty for its eternal learning. So I hope that has kind of answered some of that question about why bad things happen to good people. There's also a level in there of the law of attraction. So I have met people, and I'm sure we all have, who something good happens and their immediate response when you speak to them was, oh, this great thing happens and now I'm waiting to find out what bad is going to happen. Or something bad happens after a good thing and they're like, that's what always happens. And so there is a responsibility that falls on us. I mean, there are certain things that we could say are out of our control, but there are things we can do if we have that kind of pattern in our life where we are going, okay, this is what always happens to me. You know, something bad always follows something good, so I'm always waiting for the hammer to drop. There are things we can do to help alleviate that, because that is actually then attracting more of that to us. And universal source wants to give us what we want, so when we think something like that is going on, then guess what? That's what's going to go on. So when we go, all right, where we are looking at this and we've got somebody who's doing that, or I discover I am doing that. I think every time something good happens, I assume something bad is going to happen. You've got to find a way to get past that and get beyond that and go, okay, this isn't me anymore. This is no longer my story. Now, I can help you with that. I do have resources that I can teach you. So feel free to drop me a line and let me know, and we can go through some things. That's not what this one's about, though. The next question I wanted to deal with was, what about narcissists or other difficulties like that? So what are narcissists about? Because it's a very interesting thing when we look at someone who's a narcissist, because they're not actually necessarily, well, they're generally completely unaware that this is what they are, and yet they wreak havoc all over the place. And often these narcissists think that they're doing great things, and they might even set themselves up so they are doing great things for some of the people in their world, but then others are being really negatively affected by them. So what is that about? How do they go through this journey? So it's the same for everyone. So when they pass away, they will be greeted by those they've loved who've gone before, and then they will go into healing. And they will have the same experience that everybody else does, but from their own life's perspective. So they will get to relive their life from the point of everybody else around them. And they will get to learn from that. And they won't be them anymore. They will have taken those steps to becoming part of the oneness, so they will have more wisdom and they will have more understanding. So these souls come to Earth for their own lessons of what happens when I am narcissistic, and some of them never get called on it, some of them do, and they either learn from it and choose to grow, which is generally fairly rare, or they just keep living their lives the way they do, and then when they pass, that's when they'll have their lessons. And that can be a hard pill to swallow, but it's going to be after they've passed that they're going to have these experiences, and they're going to gain an understanding of the damage that they've done. But they will. And for those around them, the kinds of lessons you learn from having somebody who's a narcissist, and I'm just using that as an example. There are lots of other psychological psychological profiles that have similar effects. The lessons that those of us who are around those people learn are incredibly powerful. It can be hard to really want to believe that, but they can be very powerful lessons. And they're powerful lessons about empowering yourself to actually say to that person, no, this isn't okay with me. And they're lessons you wouldn't learn otherwise. So those souls, while they are difficult to deal with, are important as well. So it's about that learning. Universal Source is also learning from it, because Universal Source has sent those souls to go, okay, what if you have somebody who just goes for broke, who does whatever's necessary to get what they want, and who behaves however they want? How does that affect the whole world around them? And I suppose you could say Source has given us the ultimate experiment in that with the US president. So that's going to be a really big lesson, and he's going to have a really interesting afterlife experience. I imagine his healing is going to be pretty intense. And that's, again, another controversial topic, so please feel free to comment below. So yeah, it is kind of challenging at times to think it's all about lessons, and that we may have chosen some of those lessons. But I'm putting it out there, and I'd love your thoughts. So please, if you're watching this, put your thoughts in. I'd love to know what you think about this. That's about it for today. Be sure to subscribe. Go to the group if you're not part of the group. Go to the Soul group, which will be linked to this, and make sure you join the group on Facebook so you can watch the videos. I'm thinking of playing with the times so more people can come on board and be a part of it. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments, and I will attempt to answer them either by comment or by making a video. You can also find the videos, and the whole lot of them, on my website, which is www.natalieblank.com.au/SOULL, SOULLL. Please like and share this, and be the seer in your own life. Really, be the seer in your own life. Thanks for watching. Bye.